I seriously can't believe that it is already the time of year where we have to talk about a new yearly TBR. It's so cliche to say, but I honestly feel like I was just sitting here talking about our 24 and 24 list. And now I'm right back here in the same spot about to talk about our 25 and 25 list. Like, what is time? Hey guys, we are back with another one. And like I said in the intro, it is the time to talk not only about the progress of our 24 and 24 list that we made last December of 2023, which is insane to say, but also start setting new reading goal intentions for 2025. If you guys have never seen one of these videos before, we do, of course, my monthly TBR every single month, which talks about the books that I would love to prioritize or love to get to in that particular month. But every single year in the month of December, or at the month of December, I also set an intention for the year, which are books that I would love to get to in the next year. And I have a wheel that I spin every single month that can choose one of these books. I would love to say I get to them all, but that never happens. It just doesn't. There are just so many books and so little time, it seems. But the point is, I intend to. So before we jump into what 25 books I want to prioritize in 2025, let's talk about the progress of my 2024 list. Okay, so rapid fire, let's talk about the books that were on my 24 books to read in 2024 list and talk about whether I read them or not. Okay, so starting off strong, I had Blood Mercy by Bella Roth, and I did not read this book. I had Vicious by V.E. Schwab, and I did read this book. I had More of Us to the West by Trinity Dunn, and I did read this book. I had Billy Summers by Stephen King, and I did not get to this book. I had Caraval by Stephanie Garber, and I did read this book. I had Trial of the Sun Queen by Nisha J. Tooley, and I did read this book. I had Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson, and I did not get to this book. Gideon the Ninth by Tamsin Muir, and I did read this book and didn't love it. Sorry. I had The Witch Collector by Teresa Weeks, and I did not get to this book. I had Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros, and I did read this book. I had Hooked by Emily McIntyre, and I did read this book. I had To Bleed, A Crystal Bloom by Sarah A. Parker, and I did not get to this book as much as I wanted to. I had House of Beating Wings by Olivia Wildenstein, and I did not get to this book as much as I wanted to, again. I had Belladonna by Adeline Grace, and I did read this book. I had Daisy Hates by Jessa Hastings, and read this book. I had Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo, and I did not get to this book. I had Guild by Raven Kennedy, and I did read this book, and it became what will be a 5-star series, one of my favorite reads of the year. I had A Crown of Oaths and Curses by Jay Bree, and although I did read both of the prequel novellas, I did not get to this book, but that's okay, because when I originally put this book on my 24 and 24 list, I wasn't aware that there were 2 prequel novellas. So even though I didn't read it, and that's kind of like a loss for me, I do kind of count it as a win, because I did read both of the prequel novellas, but did not get to this actual book. I had Heavenly Bodies by Amani Arayu, and I did read this book. I had Assassin's Blade by Sarah J. Maas, and I did read this book. Mile High by Liz Tomford, and I did read this book. Kingdom of the Wicked by Carrie Maniscalco, and I did read this book. Aragon by Christopher Paolini, and I did read this book. And last but not least, From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout, and I did read this book. So for all of you math nerds, that means I read 16 out of the 24 books on my 2024 list. Not great, but also not horrible. Didn't do fantastic, but could have done a lot worse. I will take it because I think we still have a couple days left to December. I'm going to finish the couple books that I'm in the middle of, but I think I'm at 88 or 89 books for the year. So I did read a ton of books, and these were 16 of them. So I'm happy with my progress, but let's jump right into the 25 books that I would love to set an intention for 2025. Okay, so like I said, there were 8 books on my 24 and 24 list that I did not get to. Let's first start off with talk about which ones I'm going to roll over and keep on my 25 and 25 list. So starting off strong, I'm definitely going to keep A Crown of Oaths and Curses by J. Bree on my 25 and 25 list. Like I briefly touched upon, I did read both of the prequel novellas, absolutely loved J. Bree's writing in both of those, and I definitely want to continue on. This is a fantasy romance series, and I think it's dealing with potentially like an elf king and a witch, and I really liked the 2 prequel novellas. It says, I devoted my life to a king who was not my own. On the road to ultimate honor and glory, I lost everything. Now in a world ravaged by the whims of those who rule, I must turn my back on a lifetime of friendships and loyalties to face my own fate, the savage prince. Heir to the high fae throne of the southern lands, he is known for his brutality and cold heart, but with the kingdom on the brink of ruin, I have no choice but to seek him out. The war between the fae and the witches rages, and there's no end in sight. My destiny is clear. Help the prince defeat his enemies before it's too late. One small problem. I am Rooksbane Eveningstar, the favored child returned, a witch of the woods, the greatest enemy of my fate's blessed mate. So when I read the first 2 prequels, like I said, I thought it was like an elf fae, something like that, and she is a witch, and they have both been, their people have been warring for years. So I'm assuming, like in the prequels, we did not see them interact at all, but I'm assuming this is going to be the book where we see them kind of come together and like interact with one another, I assume, but I've heard it's excellent. I love J. Bree's writing, and I definitely want to prioritize this in 2025. Also staying on my 2025 list is Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo. I've actually heard that the follow-up series to this, which is Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom, are a bit better, but that this is integral to read so that you really understand what's going on in those books. So I want to power through the Shadow and Bone trilogy to get to Six of Crows, because I've heard that that's a lot of people's 5-star read. So intrigued to get into Leigh Bardugo's writing. I've never read anything by her. Also staying on my 2025 list is a book that has made our monthly TBRs multiple times. I'm, contrary to popular belief, dying to read this book, and I've just never been able to squeeze it into my monthly reading challenges, and that is The House of Beating Wings by Olivia Wildenstein. This is the gorgeous Page and Wick edition, and I am dying. I have like, I'm not even exaggerating, I have like 5 editions of this book. I think I'm going to be obsessed with it, and I've just never prioritized it. I purposely don't know much about this book, but I do know it's about a crow shifter, and I'm really dying to read it. So I know that this says, until an oracle predicted my regal future, I'd never imagined myself rising above the curve of my round ears. After all, I was the magicless halfling, loved by beast but loathed by every pureblood fairy at court. So apparently it has fairies too. Well, by all but one. Dante Reggio, Prince of Luce, has owned my heart since he gave me my first kiss. If gathering a slew of iron relics could help me overthrow the current monarch and crown his brother to rule at my side, then treasure hunting I'd go. If only the oracle had warned me what winged demon I was releasing into the world and that it'd become this demon's obsession. That does not clear up what this is about to me at all. I heard crow shifter romantasy and I'm in. Also staying on our list from 2024 and carrying on into 2025 is To Bleed a Crystal Bloom by Sarah A. Parker. This is another Page and Wick exclusive edition. Gorgeous. I have heard great things about Sarah A. Parker's writing, and I believe this is loosely a Rapunzel loose reimagining. It says, what a pretty flower to keep locked in a big rocky tower. I believe this is about our main female character who's been locked away and kind of isolated from the rest of the world, and what kind of transpires when she is released or escapes. Either way, I don't know, but I've heard great things. So those are all the books that are going to carry over into next year. I did eliminate a couple of them, not because I don't necessarily want to read them, but because I think I realized as the year of 2024 continued on and moved forward that I just don't want to read those books in a high pressure situation, like I'm checking them off a list, like Mistborn, Billy Summers, The Witch Collector. I think those have to be more mood reads for me, because Mistborn did get chosen on a couple of TBRs, and when I was put in a position where I felt pressured to read it, I didn't want to. I really think that one day the mood to read those books is just going to strike me, and I kind of want to make those more mood reading books, because the subject matter and the writing style is heavy enough where I just don't think they're conducive to be put on a list with a little bit of pressure and a time schedule attached, if that makes sense. So I'm going to go ahead and just knock those off and let me read those when the mood strikes, I should say. So let's move forward into the books that I'm now adding brand new to our 25 and 25 list. First up, we will continue my Emily Henry journey and put Happy Place on. I read all this year, Beach Read, Book Lovers, Funny Story. I think that was it. Yeah, those were the 3 Emily Henry books I read. I am so excited to move on to Happy Place next. I've heard really, really great things about this one. In fact, I think I've heard that this is a lot of people's favorite Emily Henry book, which makes me super excited for it. I really don't know what it's about. I think, if I remember correctly, this book is about our main female and main character who I believe were married and or were together and have decided either to break up or get a divorce, but they have an annual trip with all of their married and attached best friends, and they don't want to ruin the trip for the rest of everybody by breaking this bad news to them. So they decide to pretend that they're still together just to get through the vacation and what ensues from there. I'm going to go ahead and assume that this is like a second chance type of romance. But I know that Emily Henry does lean on like the literary fiction side, so you never know what could happen. Are they going to be together at the end? We shall find out. I'm also adding Spark of the Everflame by Penn Cole to our list. I did not realize there was still a sticker on this. Ignore that. I hate that. Shame on me. Admonish me in the comments. I will remove that sticker promptly when this video is over. I have no idea what this is about. I am a wee concerned about this because although it is a romantasy, I've heard it does like teeter on the scale of extreme slow burn. And I am not by any means an insta love kind of girl, but I also don't love extreme slow burn. I get very bored. And when characters have trouble kind of like expressing their feelings to one another in a reasonable amount of time, I have trouble struggling to believe they should be together or finding them soulmates or connecting with their love story. So I don't know if this is going to be an example. If you have read this and you think this is an example of the slow burn trope kind of detrimental to the love story, comment below. It says, when old secrets catch fire, everything will burn. In a mortal world colonized by the gods and ruled over by the Descended, their cruel, magic-wielding offspring, DM Bellator yearns to escape the insular life of her poor village. Her mother's sudden disappearance and the discovery of a dangerous secret about her past offer DM an unexpected opportunity to enter the dark world of Descended royalty and unlock the web of mysteries her mother left behind. With the dying king's handsome, enigmatic heir watching her every move and a ruthless rebel alliance recruiting her to join the growing civil war, DM will have to navigate the unwritten rules of love, power, and politics in order to save her family and all of mortal kind. That's the other thing I've kind of heard about this book that concerns me. I have seen a significant amount of people say that the main female character, DM, in this book is actually relatively infuriating. And if I don't like the main character, I typically struggle with the book. So we will see, but I've also heard people say that this was like a 5-star read, one of the best of the year. So I'm intrigued to see what my opinion will be on this. Next up, we have Magnolia Park's The Long Way Home, which is the 3rd book in the Magnolia Park / Daisy Hate series by Jessa Hastings. I absolutely loved Magnolia Parks and Daisy Hates. This is just rich people, toxic, gossip girlish drama that happens in London. If you don't know, it follows 2 female characters. Some of the books follow Magnolia Parks and some of the books follow Daisy Hates. I'm still on the fence as to whether I'm a Magnolia or a Daisy girl. I think I lean more towards being a Magnolia girl, but this is the 2nd Magnolia Parks book, the 3rd book in the total series, and I'm very excited to move on because Jessa Hastings' writing is like chef's kiss. I am also going to go ahead and add Bonded by Thorns by Elizabeth Helen, I believe her name is. Yes, Elizabeth Helen. This is once again a loose reimagining of Beauty and the Beast in a very spicy reverse harem type of way, which is all the things I like. Reverse harem and spice, I'm in. This edition is the gorgeous Fairy Loot edition, so it does have the sprayed edges and the beautiful cover art as well, if you guys can see that. It says, 4 handsome fae princes, 1 awkward bookworm, an enchanted veil, a beastly curse to break. So imagine Beauty and the Beast, but with 4 fae male options. I'm also going to go and add a 2025 release, and that is Enigma by Runix. This releases on Tuesday, April 29th of 2025, and is the 2nd book after Gothicana by Runix. That was a student professor spicy gothic romantasy, and I absolutely loved it. I'm not going to read the synopsis of this book because I don't know if it will give away like any spoilers for what happened in Gothicana, but I am so excited for Enigma. Another second book in a series, if you don't count the novella, is Reckless by Lauren Roberts. This is the follow-up book after Powerless by Lauren Roberts. This is a YA romantasy about a girl who is hiding that she does not have magical abilities in a world where magical abilities are the only thing that basically make you valuable and the ordinary people are killed. I did read Reckless and I thought it was okay. It had some plot holes that I didn't love, which I'm hoping will be resolved in Reckless, which would honestly make the series a little bit better for me. But the only thing that's kind of making this an anticipated read is the novella, which was Powerful, which I absolutely loved. I actually preferred the novella to the first book. So hopefully the novella energy continues into Reckless. I'm also going to add Binding 13 by Chloe Walsh. This has taken BookTube by storm and I cannot believe I have not gotten into it. I believe this is technically classified as YA romance, but from what I understand, it absolutely should not be. I've actually seen people say that they've found this in YA sections and they think that is like criminal, that it definitely shouldn't be, because I've heard this is emotional to the point of almost traumatizing, but super romantic. And the main female and main character, I believe are named Aoife and is it Johnny? Yeah, Aoife and Johnny, and I know that people become so incredibly connected to them. It says he wants to save her, she wants to hide, she's damaged, he's determined. Fate brought them together, love binds them. Johnny Kavanaugh has everything going for him. On the rugby pitch, he's a force to be reckoned with, even plagued with a hidden injury. Everyone knows he's heading straight for the top, but that means there's no room for mistakes or distractions. Not even the shy new girl at Tom in college, the one with the sad eyes and concealed bruises. Oh my God. He needs to stay focused, keep his cool, and not let anything get in the way of the bigger picture, except before he knows it, this lonely girl has become his only picture. I've heard this is excellent. Another 2025 release is Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros. This releases on January 21st, 2025, and is the third book in the Empyrean series, which follows Fourth Wing and Iron Flame, both of which were literally like 4.75 and 5-star reads for me. One of my favorite books that I've read in the last couple of years, and I cannot wait to see what happens. I am specifically not going to discuss literally anything that happens in the last two books because I don't want to be spoiled for this at all, but it is dark academia, dragon rider, war college romantasy. Amazing. With a fantastic shadow daddy. I also want to prioritize Gleam by Raven Kennedy in 2025. This is the third book in the Plated Prisoner series following Guild and Glint. I absolutely loved both of those books. This is yet again another one of my favorite series that I read last year, and I am so excited to move on. For some reason, particularly Gleam has been intimidating because this is the book where they start getting super chunky and thick, and I don't know why because I love this series, but it just intimidates me. I have said in several videos, this book has everything, or this series has everything. It is a King Midas gold-touched retelling with fae, pirates, an epic journey, smut, war, fighting, romance. It has everything, and it is mind-blowingly well written. Next up, we need to continue with my Throne of Glass read. I have only made it to Crown of Midnight. I read Assassin's Blade and then I read Throne of Glass, and I just have not moved on to Crown of Midnight, and I need to. So I am reading this as my third book in the Throne of Glass series, and full disclosure, hope they only get better because Throne of Glass didn't really knock my socks off, but Assassin's Blade was very good. Another cult favorite that I still somehow have not read, Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan. I have heard that this is a lot of people's favorite romance book of all time, and I have never been able to jump into it, but I'm hoping in 2025 I can prioritize it. I don't know what this is about, but I believe our main male character, Archer, is mute, and I'm excited to see how that contributes to their love story because I can see them connecting on such a deep level, considering that he isn't able to speak to her. And it even says on the back, it's a little like author's note, and it says, when I first wrote Archer's voice, I was so nervous about the way in which my disabled, extremely vulnerable hero would be received. But to watch Archer be embraced the way he's been and to see readers share their love for this book has often moved me to tears. I hope you enjoy the special edition and the peek behind the scenes into how this story came to be. Even more, I hope you're inspired to add your own thoughts and feelings in the margins. I do know that this is the annotated version by Mia Sheridan. I don't know if you can see that, but Mia Sheridan herself made little notes in the margins while she was writing this, which is so great. It says, when Bree Prescott arrives in the small town of Pelion, Maine, all she wants is to forget her past and everything she's left behind. But the moment she meets Archer Hale, her entire world tilts on its axis and nothing will ever be the same again. Strange, silent, and isolated, Archer communicates with no one, yet when Bree stares into his whiskey-colored eyes, something intangible happens between them. There's so much more to Archer than his beauty, his presence, or the way his hands communicate with Bree. But the town of Pelion is mired in secrets and betrayals, and Archer is the explosive center of it all. Surrounded by so much passion and so much hurt, it's only in Archer's silence that he and Bree might just find what they need to heal and finally live. Like I said, this is so many people's favorite romance book of all time. I just feel like I'm being criminally negligent not having read this yet. Another book that has taken Bookstagram and BookTube by storm this year is Beartown by Frederick Bachman. I believe this is a translated work. I'm not sure what language it's translated from, but I've also heard that this is absolutely heartbreaking and written in a beautiful way. And I know that a lot of people start on Beartown and then become absolutely obsessed with Frederick Bachman's writing and literally make their way down his backlist. And I'm hoping that's the experience I have as well. It says, a tiny community deep in the forest, Beartown hasn't been the best at anything in a long time, but down by the lake stands an old ice rink. And in that ice rink, Kevin, Amat, Benji, and the rest of the town's junior ice hockey team are about to compete in the national semifinals, and they actually have a shot at winning. All the hopes and dreams of this place now rest on the shoulders of a handful of teenage boys. Under that heavy burden, the semifinal match becomes the catalyst for a violent act that will leave a young girl traumatized in a town in turmoil. This is the story about a town and a game, but even more about loyalty, commitment, and the responsibilities of friendship. The people we disappoint even though we love them, and the decisions we make every day that come to define us. In this story of a small forest town, Frederick Bachman has found the entire world. So it also says that Frederick Bachman lives in Stockholm, Sweden. So I'm assuming this was translated from Swedish. I don't know, correct me below, but I've heard it's great. I also want to read Nocticadia by Carrie Lake. I believe this is on the more like dark gothic vibe, but it says it's a dark atmospheric tale of deadly secrets and forbidden love. After watching my mother succumb to a mysterious illness, I promised myself two things. I'd find a cure for what ravaged her and leave the godforsaken city where she abandoned me. 4 years later, I receive an acceptance letter from Dracadia University, one of the oldest, most prestigious schools in the country. So we're going to have a little bit of like dark academia in there too. Nestled on a secluded island off the coast of Maine, it's rumored to be haunted by the souls of the mental patients exiled there centuries before, those whose bones are said to make up the island's white, sandy shores, and restless ghosts aren't even its most daunting peculiarity. Deverick Bramwell, known on campus as Dr. Death, is a brilliant pathologist in charge of the Midnight Lab. He's also my devastatingly handsome professor. Okay, Gothicana vibes, like teacher-student. He's also my devastatingly handsome professor who seems to loathe tenacious first years like me, except his dark and enigmatic gaze tells me all the ways he'd devour me if he'd given the chance, and his stolen kisses burn my lips with forbidden jealousy. I crave his authority. He aches for redemption. Together, we're toxic. Delicious fodder for the prying eyes hell-bent on exhuming the rotten skeletons of our past. For the dead have much to teach, and it's only a matter of time before Dracadia's most depraved secret is resurrected. Nocticadia is a standalone dark academia gothic romance. Yes, that's all I need to say. So for any of you who have been following along with my reading in 2024, you know that I read Hooked by Emily McIntyre. I also want to read Scarred, which is the second book in the Never After series by her. This is a fractured retelling of fairy tales. However, they are told from the villain's perspective, where like the bad guy always gets the girl or the bad woman always gets the man, because I believe she did an Ursula retelling as well. This is following Scar from The Lion King. I think his name is Prince Tristan Fossa. get it in this one. And he has a brother named Michael. So like Scar and Mufasa. I loved Hooked. I was so surprised by how much I loved it because fairy tale retellings aren't really my favorite things. They have to be different enough, which is why I liked this series because it's fractured. It's just kind of inspired by, touches on the themes of, but isn't exactly retelling the fairy tale where we would know what was going to happen. And I really liked the smut in Hooked. So I'm hoping that continues into Scarred. Another video where my furnace is choosing violence. For anyone who doesn't know, my office happens to be right next to our utility closet in our in-law apartment. And for some reason, it is like 19 degrees outside, so it makes sense. Like I'm blessed to have heat, but for some reason, this furnace solely kicks on when my camera turns on. And I fight the battle of the furnace in almost every video, and this one is no different. So we're on the furnace's time. We'll wait. We will wait. Another book that has somehow made it onto multiple TBRs and has never gotten read is Daughter of the Pirate King by Trisha Levenseller. And everyone always tells me that this is one of their favorite Trisha Levenseller books, but I just haven't been able to prioritize it. And I'm hoping that in 2025 that changes because I have loved what I've read by her. This says there will be plenty of time for me to beat him soundly once I've gotten what I came for. Sent on a mission to retrieve an ancient hidden map, the key to a legendary treasure trove, 17-year-old pirate captain Alosa deliberately allows herself to be captured by her enemies, giving her the perfect opportunity to search their ship. Little double agent. More than a match for the ruthless pirate crew, Alosa has only one thing standing between her and the map, her captor, the unexpectedly clever and unfairly attractive first mate, Raiden. But not to worry, for Alosa has a few tricks up her sleeve, and no lone pirate can stop the daughter of the Pirate King. I need to read this. Yet again, another book that has taken BookTube and Bookstagram by storm. Quicksilver by Callie Hart. This book is massive. This is huge. I believe this is the indie published version. I'm actually not sure. I forget when I got this. Yes, this is indie because it was published by Read Forever Publishers. I believe this has been picked up and traditionally published. It says, do not touch the sword, do not turn the key, do not open the gate. 24-year-old Sarah Spain is good at keeping secrets. No one knows about the strange powers she possesses or the fact that she has been picking pockets and stealing from the Undying Queen's reservoirs for as long as she can remember. In the land of the unforgiving desert, there isn't much a girl wouldn't do for a glass of water. But sooner or later, every secret comes out. When Saris comes face to face with death himself, she inadvertently reopens a gateway between realms and is transported to a land of ice and snow. The Fae have always been the stuff of myth, of legend, of nightmares, but it turns out they're real, and Saris has landed right in the middle of a centuries-long conflict that might just get her killed. The first of her kind to tread the frozen mountains of Yavelia in over 1,000 years, Saris mistakenly binds herself to Kingfisher, a handsome Fae warrior who has secrets and nefarious agendas of his own. He will use her alchemist's magic to protect his people no matter what it costs him or her. I've heard conflicting things about this main male character. Some people say he's like the new top-tier book boyfriend, and other people can't stand him. So I'm excited to see what I think. Next up is very technically a reread because I did read the first book, but I think I'm kind of putting this book on as a reread, but also kind of meaning that I want to encompass prioritizing this series in 2025, and that is Zodiac Academy Book 1, The Awakening by Carolyn Peckham and Suzanne Valenti. Like I said, I did read this in 2024. I believe it was either in the beginning of 2024 or 2024 or at the end of 2023. I can't remember. And I think I did give this 4 stars, but I read this while I was on vacation at Disney in Florida. And when I tell you I could not remember pretty much any detail of what happens in this book, I think I was so distracted and so tired from vacation that I brainlessly read this. And because of that, I haven't really been inspired to pick up the rest of the series. So I think I really do want to reread and like super focus and give this my full attention, not on vacation, because I think that this series in general might have the potential to be one of my favorites of all time. So we're putting it on the list. Next up, we have God of Malice by Rena Kent. I just so desperately, in general, want to see what I think of Rena Kent's writing, and I have heard that this is a really good place to start. This is another dark romance. I believe it's like mafia bully romance, but it says, It's a new standalone dark romance about a villain and his new obsession. I caught the attention of a monster. I didn't ask for it, didn't even see it coming, but the moment I do, it's too late. Killian Carson is a predator wrapped in sophisticated charm. He's cold-blooded, manipulative, and savage. The worst part is that no one sees his devil side. I do, and that will cost me everything. I run, but the thing about monsters, they always chase. It says it's a dark, unconventional romance and contains themes that aren't to everyone's liking. Please check the author's note for triggers. And then in like the little blurb below, it says a woman becomes the obsession of a charming yet savage monster, leading to a dangerous chase where everything is at stake. I think I discovered in 2024 that I really do like certain romance, like dark romance tropes. And I have heard that if you're a dark romance lover, Rena Ken is the way to go. So I will see if I agree with that. Next up, we have It Starts With Us by Colleen Hoover. I did read It Ends With Us in 2024 and really enjoyed it. I really liked it. And I just actually got around to watching It Ends With Us because I think it's on, is it on Netflix or Peacock? I don't remember. But I just got around to having a girls' night with my friend the other night and we watched It Ends With Us and I really liked it. And I don't typically like the book to movie adaptations, but I liked that one. And I thought it stuck fairly close to the book. I really want to see where Lily's story continues, so I do want to go into It Starts With Us. A repeat author for our 2025 list, I'm going to add Never by Jessa Hastings onto our list. This is the same author as the Magnolia Parks and Daisy Hates books. So we have two by Jessa Hastings, but I really want to get into this book because I've been meaning to read it and just haven't prioritized it. This is a Peter Pan retelling, and I have heard it's excellent. And if her writing is anything like it is in the Magnolia Parks books, I'm going to eat this up. And last, but certainly not least, is another repeat TBR offender, and that is The Lies We Steal by Monty J. I have heard such amazing things about this series, and it has been on multiple TBRs, and I've wanted to read it and just haven't been able to squeeze it in. So 2025 is definitely going to be the year. This is also another dark academia. It says Hollow Heights University in the macabre, somber seaside town of Ponderosa Springs, a college for prestige, wealthy children to receive the highest education, a town drowning in treachery and secrets that became our damnation. It isn't the forest surrounding the grounds or even the mysterious hidden mausoleum that haunted me. It was them, the ones that lurked in the night, things so wicked, so twisted, so evil, they would become the rulers of my nightmares, the Hollow Boys. So dark academia running from, sounds like some sort of demon, I don't know, but I'm excited to get into it. So here you have it, guys. Here are the 25 books that I am hoping to prioritize in the year of 2025. Comment below and tell me if any of these books are also on your 2025 list, but if they are not, comment below what books you have on your list because I'm sure I can squeeze those in as well if I really wanted to. But in the meantime, if you have made it this entire way, please comment the smiley face emoji for Happy Place by Emily Henry. And then do all the things that you guys are so professional at doing, like, comment, subscribe, and I will get back to you in the new year. Bye, guys.